Not weird.
No.
Not weird at all.
So weird. Just kidding. Hello. Talk to me.
Okay. Hey, Cam.
Hey.
Thank you so much for coming and being willing to share your story with the internet. I know it can be like a little scary, so I just really
Terrifying.
appreciate you coming on here because you're someone that I just really admire in the program. You've made my program like so much stronger, and I haven't really heard like your full story, so I would just love to hear it and love for you to share it with everyone, and maybe some people can relate in any way to your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to be here, and like meeting you has been such a blessing also.
It really has.
Yes.
I swear to God, you've like seriously like protected my program when I like wanted to leave the rooms, or not leave, but you know, like take a step back from AA. So.
And that's like the beautiful thing, how it works both ways. I was actually just thinking about this. I guess I have, well, it works both ways with drugs and alcohol. Like when you're using together, you're both helping each other walk closer to death. And then in AA, like, you know, you get a sponsor or whatever, or a friend, and you're both helping each other stay sober.
Exactly.
It's cool.
It is cool.
But yeah, my story, so I guess I'll just, I mean, like,
Experience, strength, and hope.
my experience, strength, and hope. Okay, well,
Or what happened, what it was like, what it's like now.
yeah. I mean, I feel like I was born with this. Like, looking back, I can trace certain behaviors back to the beginning. Like, I always compared myself to other people and didn't like the way I look since as long as I can remember. And I also remember weird things, like I always wanted to stay up as late as I possibly could, or at sleepovers, like I never wanted them to end. I would have like sleepover benders where I would stay at people's houses for days at a time, and I was always encouraging people to like, let's stay up later. Like I was always the last one to fall asleep, because I think I just never wanted the party to end. And it's interesting to look back at those behaviors, because I think there was a lot of things that were sort of lying dormant or like just at the surface that eventually came out much more intensely. So I also remember always having this obsession with like, I can't drink and do drugs. I'll never drink and do drugs. And I remember thinking like that like every day when I was younger. And now looking back, it just feels like that was an obsession with drugs and alcohol. And I don't know why I thought that. Well, I do, but I think it was because deep down I knew myself somehow that like this could be a problem. And so like I was definitely, there were some girls that were mean to me in school, which only fueled, you know, like I'm the weird one. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. I like was so scared of everything and everyone, and so scared of being myself. And there was a lot of sneaky behaviors too. Like I was thinking about on the drive over here, I remember when I was younger, I stole this keychain from my friend because she had like these, like, it was just like this like elastic sort of keychain that I thought was really cool. And it was always like, if I have that, then I'll be cool. I was always, like, if I have this, if I look this way, then I'll be cool. And that never worked, obviously, because then it was like on to the next thing. And I was like that with people too. I never fully cared about people in a way. I always was like, if I'm friends with this person, you know, always looking for who could introduce me to the cutest boys or bring me to the best parties. And then once I got that, then I'd be like on to the next person or on to the next group. And yeah, I don't know if I like saying it now, I think, how could I, like, that's just using people. But back then I don't think I saw it that way. I just the whole time just felt so uncomfortable and weird and wanted to get out of that feeling as quickly as possible. And then so like when I was like 12 years old, I think a lot of these behaviors like enhanced. I had an eating disorder. I learned how to, binge and purge, like make myself throw up, and also self-harm stuff. And I never really understood why I was doing it. Like the eating disorder, I just wanted to be skinnier. But I never fully understood either of those things, and it was always such a secret. So I was always this person to everyone else, and then it would just fuel like the shame and self-hatred, all these like behaviors behind closed doors. And then the drugs and alcohol came a little bit later. Like I remember not really liking drugs or like smoking weed and drinking at first. And then I had this moment that I remember so clearly where I was sitting in my bed and I just knew that I wanted to make myself feel numb with drugs, and I knew what that would feel like, even though I was not high at the time. And I didn't know it at the time, but what I was imagining was the like feeling faded, like opiates. And so that sort of started my whole, like, I call this like my educational period, where I was learning what drugs did what I liked, what I didn't like, and how to use them. And I was just doing everything, trying everything, and too much of it all, and mostly feeling pretty uncomfortable. And like it was a process. So this was like a whole process, and then eventually I came across Xanax, and I realized how much like that was just like the answer. Like I could be in social situations, or I could just be home alone, and I was happy. And eventually I got a prescription. I found a doctor who, like a sketchy psychiatrist, was like, "You're perfect."
I had one too.
Yeah. And yeah, she started prescribing me Xanax, and then I like loved the effects that Xanax and alcohol produced. And like throughout this time, I always like actively sought out people who did drugs, and they were always like way deeper into their addiction than I was, so I could sort of hide behind that. And also get lots of drugs because they always, had everything at their fingertips, so I didn't really need to like do much work. And a lot of them were either had problems with heroin in the past, and then there was a point when they were starting to use again, or like just getting into it for the first time. And there was a point when all of a sudden I was just like, I want to try heroin. Like, I feel like I'd really like it. And so I was like, I wasn't like actively searching it. I was just like, when the opportunity presents itself. And one of my best friends, I was visiting one of my best friends in New York City, and we were coming home from a concert, and everybody was talking about getting blow, and because I knew he was doing dope, and I was like, well, why don't we just get heroin? It's close, because it was like the blow was further away, and he, instantly his eyes lit up and was like, oh yeah, I'd rather do that because then I can sleep.
Oh my God.
Like, perfect. So for some reason, well, I was usually the one that was like semi-functional enough to drive, even though I definitely shouldn't have been, but well, but for some reason I was always the DD.
Same.
And so he definitely couldn't drive, and he asked me, I said, I was like, well, if we're getting it, like, I'm doing some, and he asked me if I'd ever done it, and I said no, and he was like, well, then no, you're not doing any. And I was like, well, if I'm driving, like, I'm not going anywhere unless I get a bag too.
Mm.
And being the good drug addict that he was like, all right, fine. So I tried it for the first time that night, and it was like heaven. Like, literally, like, I was just like, this is the best thing ever. This is euphoric. That was the first time I think I'd heard the word euphoric.
Mm.
And after that, it was just like, you know, I'd do it, then I'd stop, then I'd do it, then I'd stop, then I'd tell myself I was never doing that again. But in the back of my mind, I always knew I would. And that just went on for years. And then, like, also within this time, I started having, like, a lot of boyfriends. Like, for 13 years, like 12 to 13 years, I had different boyfriends without a day break in between, because I couldn't be single. I couldn't sit with myself. And I also think I was so addicted to the like that dopamine rush. I physically could not break up with someone unless I had someone else lined up. And I would always bring the chaos from the last relationship and the baggage into the next relationship. So it felt like every relationship just got worse and worse and worse, and more intense. And it was always like we were always doing drugs together, which made everything worse. And then there was this guy, like, sort of all the way through that, like, we met in college when I was 20 and had different histories together. And then I remember I was, like, dating this other guy, and we were smoking crack, and it was insanity, and I was so done with that. And I started, like, when we would fight, I started calling Adrian, and we started talking, and I had told him that I had broken up with my boyfriend, even though that wasn't true, and I never told him the truth to this day. And he was living in Miami at the time, and I was living in South Carolina, and he was going to AA. He had, like, 4 months off drugs and alcohol, and he was trying to get his life together. And he was telling me this, and, like, in my head, I was like, perfect. Like, I don't have a drug problem. I was kind of getting sick of the crack anyway. Like, I'll be so good for you. And so eventually I just had enough of my last boyfriend, and I called him, and I was like, I want to come see you. And flew down to Miami. We fell in love in, like, a week because we're both codependent people. And then he moved to Charleston, and we started up this whole relationship. And a lot happened really quickly. Like, the first fight, I was out the door, like, smoking crack and doing fen. I didn't even know it was fen at the time, but looking back, it definitely was. And, yeah, I'm trying to think, like, there's a lot of details here, but basically, like, my drug use in that time period was too much for him, really stressed him out. He ended up relapsing and then eventually passed away. And that was, like, the worst pain that I had ever felt. And that was the moment, like, before all of that, I had sort of tried to control my drugs and alcohol, like, get off, get on, get off, get on. And I thought that made me, like, not an addict. And even before he passed, it had become a daily thing. But I had sort of figured out how to use and function. And so, like, I actually, like, told people I was sober at this time, which wasn't true because I was just, like, functioning so well, nobody knew. And but when he passed, I, like, fully gave in to being a drug addict. And, like, I was like, you know what, I don't have the answers anymore, like, the drugs can take control. And they did. And I started using fentanyl, like, all the time, every day. Was super physically dependent on it, like waking up in the middle of the night, all that stuff. and I think I was just like avoiding all the pain, and it was honestly like it was such a blessing because I remember the whole, like I felt like this was some weird divine intervention because I felt like one of us had to die. It also like stopped the cycle of like the love addiction thing, which was really important for me like to learn. And it sucks that had to happen, but I sort of feel like it did. And it also showed me how far I could go with drugs and alcohol, in order to walk myself into AA. And like I remember the whole time praying because I didn't want to die, so I was like praying to God. I was like, please keep me safe. I could feel Adrian, my like angel on my shoulder, keeping me safe. And it was like a spiritual experience in and of itself because I had a higher power. I believed in God by that point, and like I could feel God and Adrian with me. But also, like I remember somebody sharing this in a meeting, that they were a devout atheist and that they found God because they felt what it was like to have the lack of the spirit when they were doing heroin. And I can relate to that so much because I felt nothing inside. So yeah, so then like there was just like a few weird like thoughts that I feel like God just like put into my brain right towards the end when I was trying to get sober. And I think initially walking into AA was just a high thought because like maybe I have a problem, like maybe I should go to AA. And I did, and I wasn't sober. But then it was like the first meeting and I was like, oh my God, like I do have a drug problem. Like I can relate to everything this person's saying. And so then eventually I got off of it. I tapered myself off, which took a month, and that was horrible. And then started going to AA, and like it's just been it's amazing how this program works. Like the way that the steps are organized. The first step was such a hard step for me, admitting that I'm powerless over drugs and alcohol, because I was like, what does that even mean? Like, what even is addiction? Like, every day was an existential crisis. And it took a while to, like, have that really sink in and, like, realize that my behavior is not normal. And, like, when other people share their stories, I'm like, that's insane. But I can't see that in myself. And then, so like I would go back and forth between a higher power and like sort of like the solution and the problem. But it slowly like worked as I was like moving through the book. Like it's really started to sink in the higher, like I could really like sit with the higher power for longer and feel that inside of me. And then by the time I got to the third step, it was like I guess sort of almost like this like prolonged epiphany in a way. But yeah, and I've just found so much calm in this program, and it's just it's like amazing like how much you change in such a short amount of time once you get the clarity of sobriety.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so like, and that's what I've been finding, and like being able to like sit with myself and being okay, and like seeing what's around me and realizing that I'm having a good day and everything that is around me I'm enjoying, because I don't really do things that I don't like to do or that I'm not interested in. It's just me. Like I will just start to feel lonely with a million people around, or like bored and restless when I'm sitting watching a show that I love and is making me laugh. It's like it's inside. And then when I realize that I can just sit in the present and enjoy what's right in front of me, like everything is just so calm, and that I can control like these feelings much more than I realized I could.
Oh my gosh. Isn't it a trip?
It's such a trip.
Yeah.
I heard someone say in a meeting, like, this is the longest trip, or like acid trip. Sobriety is like the longest acid trip I've ever been on.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. And it's true. And I also heard the same person say that he gets the same high. It's a different high, but like it's equal as he did when he was using with AA and sobriety. It's just this one lasts forever and the other one was so temporary.
Totally.
Yeah.
Also really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this guy. He's a great speaker.
I want to ask who, but I'm
yeah,
not.
I'll tell you after.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so like I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of time, so like I'm so, what's funny is like with everything, with the person I am today and the person I was when I first walked in, how completely different it is when people say things at the podium, like my thoughts have quieted down, like the obsession to drink and use has been lifted, and all these things that I didn't used to believe. Now I fully believe it when they say it, because I'm like, that I can totally see that happening.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Did I miss anything? Is there anything I should expand on?
I just want to say how much I love you and how brave you are. Like, just hearing your story and, like, everything that you're saying that you went through, like, all that's going through my head is how brave you are and, like, how strong you are. And I think that a big thing that a lot of people don't realize about addicts and alcoholics is that we're, like, insanely intelligent, beautiful, sensitive people that have, like, so much to offer and, like, have just been like broken down by like a world that's like treats us very ugly, I'm not saying like you specifically or your story, but like it's just something that I've been thinking about lately. But I didn't know how similar some things that like we had.
Yes. When I watched yours, I was like, oh, the timing too.
Yeah, crazy. I love it. I did, I guess, want to. I was just curious. Did we meet at your first meeting? Was that your first meeting?
No, but it wasn't my first meeting. It was my third meeting.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's crazy, and it like wasn't even that long ago.
I know.
Like what, 6 months ago?
Well, maybe 5 months ago.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Well, I just want to say that I'm so grateful for you, and I just feel like since that day that I met you, I'm so different. Like, you're so different.
So much life stuff.
Like, just giving time, and, like, just staying sober and not picking up and going through life. And I'm just so excited to, like, keep watching us grow and bloom. And I'm just really, really grateful that I got to meet you in sobriety.
Me too.
And I love you very much.
I love you too.
So thank you for sharing your story with everyone.
Thanks for having me.
I love you. Anything else you want to add?
I don't know. I'm sure I missed tons of stuff. I just I don't know. I definitely wanted to, there's so much to the story and so many details, but like the reality is that like the details really don't matter. It was just completely unmanageable, my emotions, my outward life, and I couldn't see that, and I also didn't know how to stop it, but it was just so unmanageable. And now my life and my emotions are completely manageable, and I didn't know that was possible. And it's really cool.
It's really cool. I definitely did not know it was possible either.
Right?
Yeah.
Like.
Cheers to that.
I like the wine glasses.
Yeah.
I like the wine glasses.
Yeah. Well, Cam, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
I really hope this is recording everything. I was
Can
like,
you imagine?
oh my god! But I love you.
I love
and thank
you
you.
too.
Thank you for doing this
Yeah.
with me.
Of course. I didn't hit my vape the whole time.
Yay! It was recording.